Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. Today we're going to be talking about Fernando Tatis Jr. and we're going to be talking about where he will be playing this next season. There have been a few different positions brought up. Of course, shortstop, that's where he's played his entire career, outside of a little bit of outfield in 2021. Yeah, 2021. And basically a lot of the discussion is going to be between three different positions, shortstop and center field mainly. We'll talk about the corner outfield spots as well. And then also we have to shout out the Desert Sun where we're from, because apparently they wrote an article that he's expected to play in first base. So sorry about our hometown doing that to everyone, writing that ridiculous article like a month ago, maybe, or like a couple weeks ago. I don't think that he is expected to play first base. I have no idea why that was brought up. I guess he could play first base. I don't think that makes any sense. So I'll start out with saying that right now. But in terms of more realistic spots, somewhere in the outfield or shortstop, where do you guys see Fernando playing next year?
I kind of want to see him take over center field and then the Padres go after a bat for left field because I feel like that opens up the offense a little bit more. Kim had a really solid season. He was worth 4 WAR at shortstop. His bat started to develop a little bit more. Maybe in his third year, with a lot of consistent at bats, in his second year, he can develop into a little bit more of an offensive player. We've seen a couple of the guys from Korea, the KBO, usually takes them 3, maybe sometimes 4 years to fully adjust to the MLB. And having a lot of consistent at bats this year really helped his progress. And I feel like next year he can take a little bit further of a step. That was the case for Jong Ho, a couple other of the KBO prospects that came over. It usually took about 3-4 years. And in their third or fourth year, they had, about a 250 average, 750 to 800 OPS with about 18 to 20 bombs. If we can get that out of Kim at short with the defense that he has, it would be phenomenal. Will be a great upgrade both offensively for the whole lineup because you fit Kim and Tatis in there, but you also keep the kind of heart and soul outside of Tatis on the field. And whenever he makes a play, it electrifies the entire stadium. It electrifies the team. So there's that. My main concern with him playing center is he going to get hurt trying to make flashy plays like he usually does at short? Which he might make less flashy plays because, there's not going to be as many diving opportunities at short as there is in center field. But there is the wall to deal with. He's going to be running at 20, 21 miles an hour. Is he going to jump into the wall and try to rob a home run? Or is he just going to sprint into the wall because he doesn't know where the warning track is necessarily? He hasn't played that much outfield in Petco. There's a lot of ground to cover. Is it going to be a vocal guy in the outfield, or is it going to be like a few Tommy Pham incidents where they run into each other because of miscommunication? There's just a lot of unknowns where it seems like the safer option right now, but when you consider everything, the plays running into the wall, the plays potentially diving, potential collisions, it starts to really add up like, okay, is he the outfielder? Is he safer at short? And I think that's the main question to ask here because we still haven't gotten a full season out of Fernando Tatis. He just got shoulder and wrist surgery, so his shoulder shouldn't pop out anymore. So that kind of takes away from, okay, well, he's not going to be diving as much. Well, his shoulder's perfectly fixed. It's not going to be popping out anymore. So I kind of want to see him play center or right field, and then you can move Soto over to left and then keep Grisham or replace Grisham in center field. But I think the outfield is probably the best option for him and then the best option for the lineup.
Yeah, I think this question is going to be very easily answered by whatever moves the Padres make. It's really early right now. We don't know what they want to do with Trent Grisham, even Ha-seong Kim. We don't know what they want to do with Ha-seong Kim. There's still a lot of questions to kind of go around. It's very early in the off season, and we kind of gotta see what the Padres do. Apparently, I just saw that it's not really estimated that they spend more money than they did last year. They're saying maybe around the same, so around that's only around 25 to 30 million in spending spending space. So I don't know. We'll see if that's true or not when the season comes. I honestly thought they would spend more just because of, they brought a lot of fans to the postseason games. You can have that realistically, maybe not every game, but quite a few of the big games if you're able to bring in a a very exciting team. So I thought they'd spend more, but we'll see. Even if they don't, still a very good team. But yeah, I think the main thing is what do they want to do with Trent Grisham? Because I feel like they're very high on Trent Grisham still. I mean, he's horrible at the plate. He's horrible at the plate. Don't get me wrong. He just, but they just, I feel like they just value his glove so much. It's kind of scary because he just won a Gold Glove, best center fielder in the NL, and it kind of gets me thinking like they probably don't want to move him. They probably want to keep him out in center field because, well, you get a center fielder that's the best guy out there who can make the type of plays he does, who has the type of range he does, and he flashed it all throughout the postseason. I feel like they're going to want to keep him out there, and the only way you realistically keep him out there is if you're able to turn him into a guy that has minimum 750 OPS, around even like a 730. He can't have another 600 type OPS season. He can't do that. If you want to keep him out there, realistically, that cannot happen. So right now, I anticipate them keeping him in the event that, maybe they don't want to sell low or maybe somebody buys high. I feel like they would be able to trade if they felt like, all right, we can get a starting pitcher if we trade Trent Grisham. I think they would do that. Now, in the event that they don't, I do anticipate Trent Grisham being maybe not the full-time starting center fielder, but kind of the thing that I've been proposing for a little bit with Trent Grisham and Ha-seong Kim, probably having Fernando at short against righties and Ha-seong Kim at short against lefties with Fernando in center field. But I don't really know. That's all going to depend on, is Drury going to come back? Are we going to have who's going to be our first baseman? What type of guys are we going to bring in? Those signings are what's going to answer this question. But as of right now, I kind of anticipate the Padres. It's very hard to tell, but personally, I would want to see him in both. I'd want him to play both if he possibly could, just because you want to give him the best chance to have a good lineup. You want to keep him healthy. He's probably going to DH a few times here and there to start the season. He's probably going to start slow. He's going to need some time to pick it up, man. But I do anticipate him DHing a little more than we expect, probably. But short and center field is going to be the biggest question. I don't think there's really an option outside of that unless you move Juan Soto to left field. But all these questions are going to be answered over the offseason, man, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's super fair because it kind of depends. Okay, what happens with Trent Grisham? Do the Padres sign another outfielder? Because one thing, as we started talking about this, I feel like shortstop is, I think it's pretty likely that Ha-seong Kim is going to play short next year, or at least start the season at short. And when Fernando comes back from suspension, I think he's going to stay at short. I don't think that's because Kim stole his spot. I've seen people say that. I don't think it's like that. I think it's more of Kim's a better defensive player. And when you have Machado, Kim, and Cronenworth as your infielders, that's ridiculous. That is the best defensive infield in the game. We talked about it yesterday, but Myers, if you have Myers at first, dude, that is so absurd defensively. So I think that's part of it. One thing that I was just kind of thinking about right now is because they are high on Trent Grisham, let's say they keep him and they're like, we're going to start Grisham in center. Well, you could move Soto to left and then you could move Fernando to the right and you wouldn't have to go sign another guy. So that would be that's probably the most cost-effective solution. I think the best thing that could happen though, I think is Fernando playing center. I think that raises this team's ceiling that much more because all of a sudden going from a guy, let's take a look. Trent Grisham hit a .184 last year, which was worse than the MLB, and had a 626 OPS. You would be changing that in center field to a guy that has a career OPS over 300 points higher than what Trent Grisham posted last year. And let's not act like Fernando doesn't have the physical capabilities to play center. He's extremely fast. Obviously, he'd be raw. But if he's getting reps throughout spring and stuff, and he actually has, because when he played outfield last time, he didn't look good. But that should have been expected. He shouldn't have looked good. He was playing it in the middle of the season, and he started picking up he had a couple weeks to pick it up until he started throwing him out there. If he has a full offseason to really learn how to play center field, and he looks comfortable there, that is the best possible thing for the Padres team because then, boom, you have Fernando in center, you have Soto in right, and you can go get a left field bat and you can move Grisham because I think Grisham probably still has value. I think there's probably teams that feel like they can fix his swing. We'll see this offseason. Guess what? Someone's going to go sign Cody Bellinger, and he's been terrible the last 2 years. Why? Because they think they can fix him. Someone's going to sign Joey Gallo. He's been off the last 2 years because they think he can fix him. So, like, I think that's what we're going to see. I don't think that's necessarily what we're going to see. I think it's more likely that he's probably going to play, honestly, probably a little bit of corner outfield and DH to start before they kind of figure it out. But I do think that the best thing that you could do, and there's kind of an asterisk next to this because he has to look good there, but the best thing you can do is have him play center. I really do believe that. But we'll see how it works out. I would be shocked if he plays shortstop next year, though. I mean, I don't think he's going to play like 0 games at short. I think they'll put him there sometimes, but I don't think he's going to be the primary shortstop when he's back, which is kind of crazy if you go back to 2021 at the end of the year and go, oh, you're not going to see Fernando as this team's primary shortstop ever again. Imagine if you said that. You'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, this guy's a complete idiot. But here you go. So I feel like that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think that if you had Fernando's bat in center field and he could play like above average defense, that would be one of the most, he could put up like a 9-WAR season if he stayed healthy. That's the other part of the outfield. I think him playing in the outfield helps his health a lot. I think there's a lot of wear and tear at playing short, and Fernando's, I don't want to say he's even reckless because like he makes great plays. I don't think it's really being reckless, but he's diving all over the place. Now you run into a wall, you still dive in the outfield somewhat, but it's a lot less frequently. So that'd be the one thing I think. But I also don't think it makes much. I feel like it doesn't make much sense to put him in right or put him at first. I feel like you're just wasting how good of an athlete he is. So that's why I like center field the most. But that's kind of my overall thoughts on where he should play. I think we're most likely to see him in a corner outfield spot, but I would prefer him to play center instead of Grisham.
I don't know if saying right field would be wasting his athletic talent. I mean, we see Mookie Betts in right field. We see Judge in right field. We see a lot of big names in right field. I mean, it's kind of sort of what it's become. You have a speedy guy out in center that plays really good defense, and you have your power hitter, probably best player on the team in right field. That's sort of how the game has gone. Now, do I think just for fun, let's imagine Tatis at first. I mean, you'd have the second coming of a young Paul Goldschmidt, except Tatis has a way better arm and is way faster. You'd have basically a guy at first that could potentially go 40 for 40 or 40 and 40 for 40 home runs, 40 stolen bases. I don't know how his glove would be. I don't think he has any experience at first base at all, and it's a little bit different of a monster than shortstop because, different picks, different cutoffs and everything. I think he could learn it, sure, but I think right field is still the better option. It really just depends with Grisham. Do the Padres keep him? Do they think they can fix him? I think right field is probably the best chance of kind of, okay, you don't have to go out and get another outfielder. You can focus on bringing Myers, Drury, and Suarez back for the $30 million that you have to spend, and maybe use that extra money between those three guys to bring, Kodai Senga or a couple others in, because realistically, that was your weak point once again in the playoffs. You had 2 starters, and then you had Mike Clevenger. Or you had 3 starters, and then you had Mike Clevenger, who couldn't get out of an inning. So you got to go out and get a legit 4th and 5th starter, and the best shot of doing that is putting Tatis in right field and bringing Myers back for cheap.
Yeah, and realistically, that article about him playing first base should be thrown in the trash, deleted, whatever it is. You're not putting a guy that's one of the fastest players in baseball, most athletic, most electrifying player at probably the most boring position. That's just not happening. So yeah, I don't anticipate him ever playing first base, but yeah, the rest is pretty realistic. Realistically, center field, right field, shortstop, you could maybe see him playing all of those at one point this year. I do think he's going to play some shortstop. I think the majority of the games he plays will be shortstop. Only way I don't see that happening is if Ha-seong Kim does make a significant jump at the plate. And he had a good year at the plate. I'm not saying he didn't. I mean, a 4-WAR player is absurd. And the thing that's not being brought up is wherever Fernando plays, he has no say. He should not be displeased. Nothing. He has to accept it. No matter what, he has to accept it. I think some struggles at the back half of 2021 were due to his frustration that he wasn't able to play shortstop anymore. Not only because of his shoulder, but I don't know. I do think some displeasure caused him to lack in performance towards the back half of the season. Not saying he wasn't good, but he wasn't the Fernando that we had seen throughout the season. Also, he was playing injured, so that could factor into it as well. But it seemed like he didn't want to be in the corner outfield spot or in center field. He really wanted to be at shortstop. I mean, for anyone who didn't see in 2020 when he got the Gold Glove, the all team selection, he got first team MLB, something like that. I mean, he was super excited. He was kind of mocking the people who said he was going to be a center fielder. So he was excited that he ended up being the best shortstop in baseball. And even last year, he was still the best shortstop in baseball. Maybe not defensively, but when you look at WAR, he was the best shortstop in baseball. So he wants to be at shortstop. But now that, got in a motorcycle accident, took PEDs, it kind of really hurt the Padres in an irresponsible way. And now he kind of has no choice but to play whatever position the Padres want to put him in. And if that means leaving the heart and soul this year at shortstop, the guy that everyone wants to rally around, a fan favorite, Manny Machado, he loves this guy, Ha-seong Kim. He loves him. So if that means that he's our full-time shortstop for at least this year, he has to accept it. But I do anticipate him playing mostly shortstop.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Let us know where you think Fernando's going to play and if that's a breakdown, because I think ultimately that we are going to see some sort of breakdown, whether that's a little bit of DH, a little bit of shortstop and outfield, maybe some first base, even though I think first base is the most unlikely of them. But I think that'd just be so stupid. Put your most athletic player at first base. What? But yeah, I don't know. So let us know what you guys think, what your kind of thoughts are on where Fernando's going to be playing next year. And any other video ideas for the offseason, comment those as well, because we're going to be pumping out a lot of content here throughout the offseason. Going to be going through a bunch of rumors and stuff. So with that said, thank you guys for listening and have a great rest of your day.